Olivia here, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Thursday, December 30th, and I'm back with my stitching update. It's been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you have all been well and you've been stitching and making and creating all of the things. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. This is a video podcast where I talk about my cross stitching as well as my quilting. However, if you are not interested in seeing or hearing about the quilts, I show them a little bit later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they'll be making their appearance, so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So how have you guys all been? Let's see, these past 2 weeks we celebrated Christmas, so I hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. I am recording this video a day ahead of time because I wasn't sure what the YouTube traffic would be like, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to film a day early, let everything upload, and then in the morning I'm going to edit everything so that way hopefully I can get it on YouTube for Saturday morning. So by the time you see this video, it will be January 1st. So Happy New Year. I hope that this year is going to be a lot better than this past one has been. I am looking forward to a brand new year. I am approaching it with caution because last year when we were saying goodbye to 2020, we were ushering in 2021. A lot of us had no idea what the year held in store for us. So I plan to stay up until the new year arrives so that way I can give 2021 a big old kick on the booty as it exits. It was a very hard year for us, and so yes, I am approaching the new year with much caution. But I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. Ours was very different than it has been for the past years. Christmas Eve, we spent it with my husband's family, and as a lot of you know, my sister-in-law passed away in November unexpectedly, and this was the first holiday without her, or first Christmas holiday without her. Her birthday is or was Christmas Eve, and so that is why we celebrated Christmas Eve with my husband's family, is because we would celebrate her birthday and then we would celebrate Christmas together. So we all got together, we had dinner, we exchanged gifts. There was some moments where it was a struggle, but we got through it together, which I know that is what she would have wanted. She would have wanted us to continue celebrating the holiday, and so I'm glad that we were able to be together. And then Christmas Day, I celebrated it with my family, and that also looked very different because my brother Matthew, who lives here, he lives like 4 miles from me. They decided to use Christmas Day as a travel day and begin the journey down to San Diego to meet my other brother. So they were not here on Christmas Day, so it was just my dad and Carol and my grandma, but we had a really good time. Dinner was lovely. It was the first time in a long time that I was able to kind of decorate the table and have it be a little bit more elegant, and I used my grandma's her fancy dishes. I was able to use the entire set, and it was just the right amount, and it was really fun. It was like an intimate Christmas, and we really enjoyed it. We missed them, but I was glad that everyone was still game to come over and celebrate Christmas, and it was a good one. So, and then on Christmas Eve, it started snowing, and so we were up in the hills around the valley, and it was snowing up there. And then the next day, Christmas night, between like 9 and 11, it started snowing here. So we had snow for probably like 3 or 4 days of this past week. It melted today, but we've had very cold temperatures. The nights have been in the 20s, and it was nice because here in Oregon, it's very rainy. The landscape is very brown, and there's a lot of mud and it's just kind of dingy. I don't really think winter in Oregon is very pretty, and then it snows and it's just beautiful because it just blankets the landscape, and life slows down for all of us because we're not used to traveling in the snow, and usually have snow and ice. So a lot of people stay home. So I live on a very busy highway and it was very quiet. So it was really nice it reminded me of when I was a kid and the way that the traffic was. I mean, we never had this amount of traffic when I was a kid. So it was just really nice, and it was quieter. However, this past week, the most I did was put away all the Christmas decorations. The house is not back to 100%. It's probably at 70. I have a lot of empty spaces. And the quilt hanging behind me is not the one that was originally supposed to be there. I had quilted my farmer's wife quilt, but when I was attaching the binding to it, I realized that it was very heavy and it was way too long, and I was worried that if I would have hung it, it actually would have pulled the quilt hanger down. So I put in the S'mores quilt by Joe Morton. So it's a little bit dark in here today. It doesn't help that there's like a dark rain cloud over the top of us right now. But I had to find a quilt really quickly to hang up there, and I wanted something new, and I love the S'mores quilt, so that's the one that I hung up behind me. I have another one that I'll be hanging up in February, so I just have to get that one quilted. All right, so I had to go and help Allison, so I thought since I was walking back into the room and I saw Freddie laying there, I thought I would grab him and show him in the video, because I know it's been a long time since I have shown him. Usually it's just a picture at the beginning or the end of the video, so here he is, and of course he's not going to let me hold him. Believe it or not, he does let me hold him when I'm not recording a video. He is kind of like a 2-year-old. The moment the camera comes out, he decides he doesn't want his picture taken. Okay, so over the past 2 weeks, I have continued working on the same 2 projects. The first one is Mighty Acorn, and it is out of the Winds of Autumn book by Blackbird Designs. This is my Wednesday and Thursday autumn stitch with Yvette. I have to be really honest and tell you guys that last week I only worked on it one of the days because I forgot it was Wednesday, and I realized that on Thursday morning. So this is one day worth of progress, and I pretty much only worked on the house. I might have added those 3 acorns to the side of the house, a little bit of the border maybe, but that was about it. And I still cannot believe that I forgot. And then this past week on Tuesday, I sent Yvette a message saying if she'd be willing to postpone working on this this week, so that way I could continue working on Anne Priest and get her a little bit closer to the finish line. And she was totally cool with that. So I will pick this back up next Wednesday and Thursday and work on it and hopefully get a little bit farther. But I'm stitching it on a piece of 36 count Ren with the called for threads 1/2. Next up is Anne Priest. And I think on my last video, I might have said that I started working on her November of 2019. And I started working on her November 12th of 2020. I just worked on her the one day. It was a birthday start. And then I've picked her up on and off as this year has gone on, and decided after I finished one of my last Christmas projects, I decided to pick her up and just work monogamously on her since then. So I think I picked her back up sometime around Thanksgiving, I want to say. And I probably should have looked in my book of days, and I did not. But here is my progress. I am almost done with the house. I just have that little corner left to do. So there's another window and then the brick fill in. So I'm hoping that tonight I will be able to finish the house. There is one line of, I think it's grass that sits right underneath the house, and then the border. So it'd be nice to finish the page before tonight is over. And then of course tomorrow I'm starting my New Year, New Start, even though it's December 31st, but we decided to start it a day early. That way we can give ourselves 5 days to work on it. So tonight is the last night to work on this one. And I will explain all about my New Year, New Start here momentarily. So I will probably pick her back up again in January. And then I'm hoping for a January finish. It would be really nice to have her done right after the new year. I will hopefully make a frame for her, and then she is going to hang in my bedroom. I absolutely love working on this one so very much. It's such a beautiful sampler. I just love it. I love it so much. I underestimated once again just how long the house would take to stitch, but it's a beautiful house. It really, really is. So I will personalize this with my great-grandparents' names, and sometime over the next few weeks, I will chart it out. I have graph paper that I use to hand chart them out. So I hope maybe in my next video, let's see, my next video, I probably will be working on her. So maybe the video after, I'm hoping she'll be finished. I would really like to have her be my, my first New Year finish. So we'll have to see. I am stitching Anne Priest by the Scarlet House on 40 count caramel by Seraphim Fabrics with the called for threads 1/2. And I love it. So if anybody is thinking about stitching her, she is absolutely gorgeous. All of the little motifs are just so sweet and just so lovely. So I really enjoyed working on this one so very much, and I cannot wait to have her finished very soon. Okay, so I had to take a slight pause there because Freddie started barking. He's been doing it a lot today. I don't know if maybe he's hearing sirens from way off in the distance. I don't hear anything, but sometimes he hears something. Maybe it's ghosts, I don't know. Also, I wanted to let you know that in the background you might be hearing the wash machine and the dryer. I just had a tremendous amount of laundry this past week, and I am trying to get caught up on it. So I just decided to go ahead and run it. I basically don't want to have to do laundry on the last day of the year. So trying to get that all done. So I apologize if you're hearing that. I imagine that my phone is picking it up because it picks up random noises in the background. Sometimes I don't know what those noises are. Again, I'm thinking ghosts. So over the last couple of videos, I did have a couple of questions that I wanted to answer. The first question was about my rotation. So I wanted to talk about that one a little bit. So when I started off the new year, my rotation was a lot different than it is now. A couple of months ago, I was talking to Yvette, and she kind of helped me kind of reconfigure things a little bit because I was finding that I wasn't getting a lot accomplished. It would, originally I think it was like a 3-day rotation, and then I switched. And I was telling her that I really wanted to try to find a way to get things done a little bit quicker. So she helped me adjust it, and now I have a 5-day rotation. So the way that it works is I work 5 days on a project, and then on Wednesday and Thursday is kind of the buffer in between. And that is my Wednesday, Autumn, and Thursday stitch. And then I might switch to something else, which I have not been doing that over these past 3 months because during the past 3 months, I've had extra content for my videos. So I've been able to still have content for my video while working monogamously behind the scenes. But now that I'm returning to my rotation, I will be switching projects as I go. So after the new year, I will have my New Year, New Start for 5 days, and then I will go back to Mighty Acorn for 2 days, and then I'm still working on it. But basically so I stitch on something for 5 days, 2 days is my autumn stitch, and then another 5 days I'm working on something else. And that's kind of the way I've been doing it. I think she might have helped me change it sometime in the summer. But I find that it really works really well for me. I was able to still work on a variety of projects, but then I was also able to get them done, which makes me really happy. To keep track of it, I had the Needleworkers Book of Days by Needlework Press, and this is what my December looked like. So I don't I know a lot of people put stickers and stuff on theirs. I don't. I'm so boring. But this past year, I've only really worked on keeping track of my cross stitching. And this coming year, I want to be able to use my calendar to keep track of my quilting and my cross stitching as well. So this is kind of the way that my December looked. And the reason why that these are written in pen was because I forgot to jot them down, but I normally only write in pencil. That way I can erase it if I decide to change my mind. I find that I like to have my entire month mapped out so I know what it is that I'm going to be working on. And again, I can change my mind at any time. But I find that it really helps me to stay on task, to sort of have that structure. So that is kind of what it looked like. I know it's also a little bit boring because I've only monogamously been working on things, but I suppose I could show you one of the previous months. This was what my July looked like. So as you can see, it definitely gets all filled up and things get crossed out and moved around. If I don't stitch, I end up crossing it out. So it's been very, very helpful for me. It's also a way for me to keep track of what I'm also stitching it on, because as soon as I start something, I make sure to jot down the day I start it, what I'm stitching it on, and if I'm using the called for threads. A lot of the times I do forget to do that step, and that's also something that I'm going to try to get better about doing this coming year, kind of keeping track of things a little bit better. I did go ahead and buy the new Needleworkers Book of Days. I had searched and searched for a calendar that would work for me. I bought one, and when it came, it totally was not what I was looking for. And then my husband was like, why don't you just buy what you are used to? Because that one you seem to do pretty well using. So I went on, I was able to find it on sale, and it arrived 2 weeks ago. So I will be keeping track of my cross stitching and my quilting in the new Needleworkers Book of Days by Needlework Press. So another question that I have been asked a lot is, will I show my stitching setup? Meaning, the area where I do all of my cross stitching, and no, I won't. So the reason why is because I typically stitch in bed. I go in every night about 9 o'clock, and I pick up my stitching and I work while sitting up in bed, and we watch whatever the DVR has recorded, or something on Netflix or Amazon Prime. And so I will stitch in the evenings for 2 hours. I started doing that after Ethan was born, because I had started picking up, I was pregnant with Ethan, and I picked up hand embroidery. And I had set it aside after he was born, and I found that I really missed it. And so I ended up sort of, after the kids went to bed for a couple of hours, I would sit in bed and stitch. And that has just sort of stuck with me all these years since then. So that's where I do most of my primary stitching, is in the evening between 9 and 11. If I'm not doing anything, because a lot of times what happens is I'm working on my own quilt. So I'm doing piecing and stuff like that after dinner. And if I'm not doing that, then I will typically start stitching a little bit earlier. So I probably will not show my stitching setup because it's nothing glamorous. Someday I would really like to get a stitching chair, and I want to get a Lowry, and but that is a dream for another day. Another question that I got is, when I stitch, do I use a Q-snap? Do I use a hoop? Do I use a scroll frame? Do I stitch in hand? So typically about 79% of the time I am stitching on a Q-snap. I do like how the Q-snap holds my fabric nice and taut. I did try to stitch in hand once. It did not go very well. I did not enjoy it. I don't know why. Because even in my hand embroidery, I stitched with a hoop. And so maybe that's just something I got used to having, was, my fabric always kind of being taut as I worked on it. But I did try, because This one time I was watching a movie and she was sitting there and she was clearly working on cross stitching, but she did not have it in a hoop. She was holding it and then she was, doing the sewing method. And I thought, oh, that looks really cool. That's would be like a way for me to connect with, stitchers of the past. But it didn't really take. I found myself being very frustrated with my stitches, and I just it didn't feel natural to me. So I envy people who are able to stitch in hand. But I do use a Q-snap. I also have a scroll frame. I have a lock scroll frame by Artisan Designs. I do love it very, very much and would eventually like to get one that's a little bit bigger, one that can kind of hold a fat quarter. But the price of it went up a little bit, so I have to save up. So for right now, I just use a Q-snap. And then if I do have a piece of linen that will fit into the lock scroll, I use that. I stitch with my Elan lap stand that is also made by Artisan Designs. So I pretty much use this all the time because I love it. I stitch two-handed. So that is why I like to have something hold my stitching for me. And this has been my most favorite purchase ever. I sold a quilt so I could buy it. And I absolutely love it. It does slide out, so it accommodates bigger projects. And I actually thought that this had got ruined during Ice-mageddon because it got very cold here in the house and things started swelling and I could not budge this at all for a really long time, and I thought that it would just permanently be like this. And then we had Hellmageddon, and where everything dried out, and then after that I was able to open and close this. It still is a little bit stiff, but normally when you get a brand new one, it does not do that. And mine just did it because we had Ice-mageddon. There was a lot of moisture in the house. The wallpaper started coming up off of the wall. It was not a good time. But I absolutely love using this so much. This little thing comes out to accommodate the scroll frame, and then you put this little thing in for the Q-snap. And I love using mine so very much. Then I do use a hoop. Hang on, I just want to make sure I get my little wooden piece back in. I do use a hoop, and a couple of months ago I was at the Goodwill and I found this Duchess hoop for $2.99, and I absolutely love using it. So anytime I'm working on a smaller project, I will put it in this, which generally is my morning stitch, and I love using this. I just had a regular old plastic hoop beforehand, and now I just use this one. So not bad for $2.99 because I see how much they go for on like eBay and Etsy. So I can't believe that I was able to snag one. So a lot of fun. So that is what I use when I stitch. So another question that I got was how long I have been a quilter. So I have been a quilter for 20 years. I started quilting when Allison was, I don't think she was quite a year. My grandma taught me. And then we had to take a little bit of a break because my grandfather passed away, and we picked it back up again a little bit later on. And I have been a quilter ever since. There was a couple of years where I didn't make as many quilts, and that is because I completely lost my quilting mojo, and I realized it was because I just wasn't working on the things that make me happy. I enjoy working with Civil War reproduction fabrics. So once I started working with those fabrics, my quilty bug came back, and I have been enjoying it ever since. Okay, so over the past 2 weeks, I did have a finish, and I worked on this one kind of secretly. I worked on it with Carol and Lauren and Yvette, and it was my morning stitch. I did not share that I was working on this on any of the social media or here in my YouTube videos because the chart is very much out of print. And I knew that I would constantly be bombarded with people asking for the chart. And I no longer have the chart, so please do not ask me for it. I'm sorry it is out of print. I know the frustration. There are lots of things out there that I would absolutely love to stitch myself, and that they are out of print and probably will never come back into print. The good thing is there is a lot of stuff in print that you can go and stitch and find. So Here is And to All a Good Night by Blackbird Designs. So I stitched this with the called for threads, 1/2 on a piece of 36 count aspen. I have to be honest with you, I did not enjoy working on this one at all. But I kept going. I did not want it to end up as a WIP. There was no way to, stitch to a certain part and then just turn it into a small pillow or something like that. I just had to keep going with it. So I did. I do plan on making a frame for this one sometime in the coming year. And maybe I'll feel a little bit better about it once I get it framed. But the original chart, the house is Raspberry Parfait by Gentle Arts. And it was very much red back when the chart was first created. And now it is very, very pink. And I almost changed it, but I had ordered all of the threads from online. And when it came, I just did not want to, I didn't want to try to find something else. I wish I would have, but at the same time, I would have had to change out a lot of the other colors, and my friends and I, we were ready to start. So I just went ahead and stitched it. And again, I'm hoping I will feel a little bit differently after I get it framed, because sometimes after you frame a piece, it gives it a whole new look. So I'm hoping that that is the case. But here it is, and it's finished, and I'm sorry that I didn't share it. I know a lot of you guys were wondering what happened to my morning stitch, and I just had to tell a white lie and say I wasn't working on anything in the morning, but that is what I've been working on since October, and I was really glad to get it finished, and I definitely celebrated when it was done. All right, guys, so now let's talk about what was in the mocking basket of WIPs. I know I'm gonna have a lot of people ask what a mocking basket is, and it is this cute little white basket that holds all of the projects that I have started or that I'm currently working on, and every time I walk past it, it mocks me. First one is Coming to America. This one, I had stopped stitching it because I did not like the way that the threads were showing up on the linen. I bought it as a kit from Kitten Stitcher. And here is my progress so far. So I believe this is a piece of, I want to say, graham cracker. And there is a lot of parts of it that are blending in, although I can kind of see the birds. I can't see the definition of the birds, but I do see that there are little white blobs where the birds are. I'm thinking that I'm going to take all of the birds out and then redo them. There's also a part of me that wants to go in and rip the sails out and make them a little bit whiter, but that is a lot of work, so I don't know that I want to do that. Maybe just the birds. So this is where I left off, and I would like to get back to this at some point. I'm stitching it with the called for threads. And in case I forgot, it is Coming to America by Brenda Germain. And my husband's ancestor, who is Mrs. E. Fuller, that is my husband's ancestor. And her husband died not long after they got to America, but their son, Samuel, he survived, and his uncle, who also made the crossing with them, raised him. And so my husband is descended from Samuel. And I've heard through the grapevine, because there was somebody who was watching my videos who's also descended from Samuel Fuller, and she told me that somewhere in the family tree, one of the other descendants married into the Fuller family. So we actually have 2 family members that came over on the Mayflower. I did look to see if any of my family had come over on the Mayflower. They did not. They ended up coming out about 10 years later. And here is all the thread. So quite the mess. Eventually, I do plan on getting back to that, and I do have some decisions to make. Because I like when my white kind of shows up, especially on a darker piece. I like when the white kind of pops, and I feel like this was not white, it was I forget which color it was that they were using, but it's not showing up very good. And I just feel like I need to do something, even if it means ripping out the sails and restitching it in white DMC. But I need to decide. I don't want to go any farther until I decide what I'm going to do. And again, I might just decide, you know what, they look fine. I'm just going to keep going. I don't really want to restart it because that piece of linen was not cheap. All right, so the next one is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. I started this one in 2017. I think that's the year it came out. I remember I had started Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow, and then I was waiting for this one to come out, and I started this one not long after it did. I don't see a date on it. And this is how far I got. So I'm stitching it on a piece of 40 count Vintage Country Mocha with the called for DMC 1/2. I hope. Let me see. Nope. Is it 1/2? Yes, it is 1/2. I don't have my glasses on. So that is all the farther I got. And in this chart, I will be eliminating 2 of them. And I think that it is going to be the skeletons down here and this one, and I'm going to insert the 2 that I'm taking out of Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow and putting them there. So I would imagine that I will not get to this one this year. I will be very surprised if I do. I don't foresee it because I really do want to have Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow finished first. But you never know. It's always an option if I decide that, yes, I do want to work on it, but I don't think I will. I think it'll still be in the mocking basket next year. Okay, so next up is Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain by Kathy Barrick. So I started this one with Christy, who's Crosshatch Quilts. We started this one back in 2020, maybe? I think it was 2020. And I am stitching it with the called for threads, which are these, and the threads are from Jen Lee Quirks and Stitches. She shared her conversion with us. And I absolutely love all of these threads. They are my favorite Halloween ones. And I am also stitching this one on a piece of 36 count Vintage Country Mocha. And I think it's either a 36 or a 40 count. I will need to look that up because I don't see it written down. So I'll probably have to go back into my Instagram and go look to see what it was. So this is all the farther I got. I would really like to work on this one this year. I wanted to work on it last year, and I thought that in the fall this year I would get a chance to, but there never seemed to be a good opportunity to work on it. All right, so this next one is, let me get the picture of it. So this is Celtic Autumn by Lavender and Lace. So I started this one, I think back in 2019. It's definitely been sitting for quite a while. I am doing the Janet Granger conversion. And this one I did make a decision on. So here is what I'm stitching it on, which is a piece of 28 count doubloon by Picture This Plus. I'm using the Janet Granger conversion. I'm stitching it 2/2, but I have decided to eliminate the border. So she has this sort of frame that goes around her. So I'm going to unpick what it is that I have stitched, and I'm only going to stitch her. So I will only have her stitched. So at some point this year, I'm going to go in and I'm going to unpick my stitches. And then at some point, I will pick her up again and work on her, because I have been really thinking about working on another Lavender and Lace or Marabouga, Nora Corbett. I enjoyed working on my Queen of Freedom, and I haven't worked on any since I finished her. And a couple of months ago, I was really thinking I needed to maybe think about possibly having, you know, working on her this sometime. I don't know when. Okay, next up is Scarlet House's American Farmhouse. So I started this one also back in 2019, I believe, because I was doing Flosstube by then, and I started in 2019, so I think it was the summer of 2019. This one ended up in and out of timeout, mainly because for whatever reason I keep screwing up the barn, and it's very annoying. So it's been sitting in timeout for a long time, as you can tell by the wrinkles. This is how far I got. I know when I pick it back up again, I gotta figure out the barn. I messed up somehow. I'm still not really sure how. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count ale by Picture This Plus with the called for threads of 1/2. And I would like to get this one done eventually. I know Yvette has it. I don't think she started it yet, but it's one that I know that she's been wanting to stitch. So she told me to hold off and we'll stitch it together. And these are the called for threads. Looking pretty sad. Because I honestly think I discovered I had made a mistake, and I ripped it right out of the Q-snap and I just shoved it right in the bag. I was very distraught. And then the last one in the Mocking Basket, which is no stranger to you guys. I know I have not shown it since September. And that is Autumn at Acorn Hollow. All of the stuff got really bent. I'm not really sure how that happened. I don't know if Freddie was playing in my basket or what was going on, but I noticed when I was pulling these out that some of my charts got a little bent. They're a little beat up. So, Autumn at Acorn Hollow, Carriage House Samplings. I was working, I guess it would be on the 4th block. So I did get the hills done, and I was working on the tree, and I think my time on this ended. And then that's about the time I decided to work monogamously on some stuff. So oh, I know what it is. So Yvette and I got to talking, and she has Village of Acorn Hollow that she's working on. Village or Houses? One of the two. Anyway, she's working on that one, and she's about in the same spot that I am. So we got to talking about this coming year, and we decided that in between our autumn stitches, we will, for a month, work on our Acorn Hollows. So this will be coming back into the rotation periodically throughout the year. Okay, so these charts that are sitting right here that you cannot see are all ones that I would like to work on this year. A lot of them, there's a lot of them that are not that big, and then there are a couple of them that are kind of big. And I realize that I probably won't get them all done, and I'm not setting myself to any sort of expectation. I just like to have sort of this is the group that I would like to focus on. Now, at any time, I can take some of these out and just say, I'm not loving this right now, and just kind of set it aside. There is one in here that was originally going to be my New Year, New Start, and it did get changed, and I will explain that when I do get to my New Year, New Start. So I'm going to kind of keep these going a little bit quickly because I have no idea how long this video will be, and it's also getting very late in the day. So I'm going to start losing the light, and I have a feeling I might have to start dinner soon. So the first one, and this one I think I will work on in January, is the Mary Bell Sampler by Lori Rippey of Homespun Prims by Lori, and it is not that big. So I will stitch this with the called for DMC and some 36 count linen that I have out in my drawer. I just have not quite decided which linen it will be yet, but this one will be started a little bit later on in January. It is not that big of a sampler, which is why I really like it. I think it'll just be a nice little cute addition. So that one is definitely on my plans. So now you're going to hear the crinkling, unzipping, because I keep a lot of my stuff in baggies. You would think, being I make project bags, I would make myself stuff, but I don't. Okay, so this one here is a Blackbird chart. I've wanted to stitch this one all year, and I finally just decided to get it. I was given a gift certificate to Annabelle's online, and I decided it was meant to be. So this is called The Winter Is Past by Blackbird Designs. I already have the frame for this. I found it at the Goodwill back in November. And when I was at Acorns and Threads before Thanksgiving, I got all the threads for it. So I absolutely love this piece. Again, it's not very big. I am going to stitch it on a piece of 36 count Oaken by Picture This Plus. It is what the called for is. And I got the very last piece of Oaken available anywhere on the internet. And I will be stitching it with the called for threads. So that is one that is sort of in my immediate plans. And it's just kind of deciding which one to stitch first. So it's between this one and then this one that I'm going to show you. Or I should say that one and this one that I'm going to show you right now. So it's also by Blackbird Designs. And that is What Remains by Blackbird Designs. And I love this. So I believe this was an exclusive chart from Traditional Stitches in Canada. So I will be stitching it on a piece of straw, and my piece of straw is barely gonna work for it, so I am going to have to sew on a piece of fabric so that I can put it in my Q-snap. So here's the 36 count straw. And if I have something that's a little bit close to it, I might swap it out, but the 36 count straw is what is called for. And I splurged, and I still have them in the baggie. It's kind of sealed up. I ordered some Flossway bags, and they came right before I did my video, so I'm not going to be able to show you. But I decided to splurge and get the Vicky Clayton silks. So they kind of come on these little bobbins. They have adorable names. And luckily you can go on her website and she'll tell you the conversion. So once the project's done, I will be able to substitute it for the overdyed. So I'm excited to stitch it on that. And I actually found that the Vicky Clayton silks are very reasonable. I mean, they're only like a few dollars more than what the overdyeds are. I think when I calculated it out on this one, there was like a $2.50 difference between if I were to kit it up with the called for threads to the Vicky Clayton silk. So I'm excited to work on this with the silks because I've heard very good things. So this one was going to be my New Year, New Start, and that is Sarah Stewart Hardman by Needlework Press. My brother gave me this for Christmas last year in 2020. So I did spend the whole year off and on kitting it up with the called for Classic Colorworks, I believe, and they're just kind of all wadded up, so here they are. But I had a piece of 36 count vintage buttercream in my stash, so that is what I will stitch on it eventually. I was going to stitch it with Yvette. So we have postponed it for right now, and at some point we will start working on it together. I don't know if it'll be when we're done with the one we will be starting, but it will be soon because we both really want to work on it. However, she's working on Anne Rayner right now, so I'm not sure. I know they're like really close to each other, so I'm not sure when she gets it done if she'll even feel like working on it just yet, so we'll see. And then I would like to work on Blackwater Hollow by Stacy Nash. I really love this one, and I do hope at some point to work on that this year. I don't think it'll take too terribly long, and I will be stitching it on a piece of 36 count Fawn by Picture This Plus. So, but we will see. Again, sorry for all the crinkling, but if I didn't keep them together, they'd be all over the place. So this next one is Anne Fleming. So I was gifted this one, so I definitely would like to start working on it. And it is very snug in the bag. So this is Anne Fleming 1810 by the Scarlet Letter. Such a beautiful sampler. I love it. And it came with the linen and the, so, I don't know how to say that. It's in French. It's, I've heard people say it. I cannot, but it's kitted with the silks. So these are the silks. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce it. I should have looked up the pronunciation of it, and I'm sure somebody down in the comments will let me know how you phonetically say that, which is totally fine. Then we have Butternut Tavern by Stacy Nash. I really would like to stitch this one. I love it so much. I've had this one kitted for a while, so I have it kitted with called for threads on a piece of Dead Sea Scroll 40 count by Seraphim Fabrics. So I would like to. It's such a beautiful, well, most of the people that I see who've stitched it, they usually frame it. So I probably will frame it too. So I really love that one. And I think that one might be on the list. I don't know if that one's on the autumn. Yvette and I have an autumn list of the next 5 we're going to be doing. I don't know if that's one of them. And then this one is by Tree of Life Samplings. It is Walk Beside, and it's just a little sampler, but it is so beautiful. And I am going to stitch it with the called for threads on a piece of Vintage Country Mocha. 36 count, Vintage Country. So hope to work on that one. I don't think it will take very long to stitch up, but it's very beautiful. Okay, so this one I worked on kitting up during 2020. I was going to start it this year, but I never got the chance. But I would really like to get to this one. So it is Rachel Howell by the Scarlet House. I kitted it up with the NPI silk. I just sort of broke it up over a handful of months. And I really love, every time I see it on somebody finishing it, I just absolutely love it, and I am anxious to get to it. I would really, really like to. And I'll be stitching on a piece of 36 count Legacy. So we'll see. I'm gonna try my best to get it into my rotation. And then this one I've seen a lot of people stitch. Every time it popped up this past fall, I wanted to immediately stop what I was doing, but I didn't because I just gotta stay the course. And that is Grateful, Thankful, Blessed by With Thy Needle and Thread. I love this one. And I will stitch it with the called for threads, except I did substitute. It does have like some thread. I think it's, what is it called? I cannot, oh, it's, there's some silk. There's 2 different skeins. One's like a limestone and the other is oatmeal. And I think I will just substitute it with some overdyes in my stash because when I looked at the chart, you don't use it too much. But I will stitch it on a piece of 36 count Legacy. So I would like to start working on this one soon. That way I can get it done before autumn. So I'm thinking at any moment I'm just going to decide to do it. And it could be that the next time you see me I will have decided to do it. I don't know yet. I'm still trying to decide on my rotation for January, so we'll see. And as you know from watching me this past year, you know that the moment I start something, I keep it in my rotation till it's done. This next one is Holiday Inn by Brenda Gervais. I don't remember if this is one of the 5 that Yvette and I talked about stitching for the Autumn Wednesday, but I know this one, I really want to do it. I don't know that it's going to happen this year, but I look at it often and I just absolutely love it. I have a piece of 32 count linen. There's no name it's just a 32 count linen that I did pull for it, but I might decide to substitute something else in its place. I need to figure out how big it will be, and I will be stitching it with the called for threads. This one I know for sure 100% that I do want it in my rotation this coming year before Christmas. And it is not going to come out very easily, so I'm just going to leave it in the bag. And that is the Noel Sampler by With Thy Needle and Thread. I have it kitted with the called for DMC. And I will be stitching it on a piece of 36 count vintage cedar plank because I saw Carol Crago stitch it a couple of years ago, and she did it on the vintage cedar plank, and I loved it. I just love that, it was like a wintry night sky type effect, and I just really, really loved it. So that I'm totally gonna copy her and stitch mine on the 36 count vintage cedar plank. So I know that this is one that I do want in my rotation this year. And then I know our next Wednesday autumn stitch, after we finish Mighty Acorn, I believe is Away We Ride by Blackbird Designs. And this is one that I've wanted to stitch for a ridiculous amount of time, and it's finally almost here. And I'm going to be stitching it on a piece of 35 count cappuccino by Weeks Dye Works with the called for over dyed threads. And I've had this one kitted for a while, so I am anxious to get to it. All right, and then this particular sampler is really, really high up on the to be stitched within the next few months. I'm kind of looking at everything at like the first half of the year, the second half of the year. So some of this stuff is like on my list that I really want to start. I just have to narrow it down. Like, yes, I am going to start this one, or this one it might get pushed, or it might not even be stitched. But this is one I know I want stitched this year, and this is Harriet Godhard 1817 by Hands Across the Sea Samplers. And it is such a beautiful sampler. I absolutely love it, and I apologize for the lighting. It's starting to get dark. It's almost nighttime now. I will be stitching it with the Vicki Clayton Silks. Again, it has the most adorable names, on a piece of 40 count Caramel by Seraphim. So this is the other half of linen that is on Anne Priest. So this one is very, very high on the list. I don't think it'll take that long. It's not an overly large sampler, so I know that it won't, take forever. Okay, so that brings me to my new year, new start. So as I explained earlier, I had a new year, new start. It was going to be Sarah Stewart Hardman by Needlework Press, and that is the plan had been to work on that all basically year. And then in November, after my sister-in-law passed away, I was talking to Yvette, and I said, I really want to find a Christmas sampler that I could stitch in memory of my sister-in-law, because her birthday was Christmas Eve and she loved Christmas. And that's pretty rare to find somebody whose birthday falls on Christmas Eve and still loves to share it with Christmas. I mean, she loved it so much. And I wanted to find something that really represented her, and so I could stitch it in her memory. So Yvette named off a couple of ones, and she's like, wait a second, what about Christmas Garden? We had this one kitted. We were going to work on it at some point together. We didn't know when, and it just seemed like it was meant to be. So I will be stitching Christmas Garden by Blackbird Designs in memory of my sister-in-law. And I will, so here is what the sampler looks like. And right here are some motifs. I'm going to pull those motifs out, and I'm going to stitch my sister-in-law's name, and I will put her date of birth and then the date she passed away. So I'm sure this piece will be very emotional to work on, but I feel like I need to do it. And then for my birthday and Christmas, I was gifted the Vicki Clayton Silks to stitch with it when we did stitch it. And I will be stitching it on a piece of 36 count Dusty Road by Seraphim Fabrics. And this is what it looks like. I just have to decide which side. I kind of am digging this side. So we'll see. So I need to decide because I am, Yvette and I are going to start it tomorrow, which I know technically is still December, but we wanted to give ourselves 5 full days to work on it in our rotation. So the next time we sit down to have a chit chat, I will have some progress on that. All right, so I went and I put all of that stuff out in the other room and I looked at what time it is and it's like 20 minutes to 5 o'clock. And so what I've decided to do, because I still have the giveaway winners, I also got a package from the Fat Quarter Shop, and then I have quilting and my quilting plans to show. So I've decided that's going to take, that's going to take me a little while longer. And with it getting so late as it is now, I think what I'm going to do is I am going to film the rest of my video in the morning. And I've never done that before, so you're going to see me in a different outfit, hopefully a little lighter, because I do have quite a bit more to talk about. And I feel like I'm going to lose the light here, and you know, maybe it would be better to pick it up in the morning. So I just have to go break the news to my husband, and he's going to be like, what? But it's okay. It'll give me time to sort of get everything kind of back together and then kind of have a plan of attack for the morning, because I do have some cool quilting projects coming up that I do want to show and I want to be able to talk about, and I don't want to be like really rushed. So I think what I'm going to do is bid you good night, and I will be back in the morning, which will be just like that for you guys, because it's just going to fade out and then fade in, and it'll be a whole nother day. So I will see you then. Hello, good morning. Today is Friday, December 31st. It is the last day of 2021. It was a good call yesterday, stopping the video, because right after I did, it was very dark. I should have known better than to record at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a winter's day. So I'm back, and then last night I was inputting some information for my description box, and I realized that I goofed on a couple of things. So on Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain, I am stitching it on a piece of 36 count Vintage Country Mocha. And on the Coming to America, Women of the Mayflower by Brenda with Thy Needle and Thread, I said I was stitching it on a piece of linen that I thought had been dyed by Kitten Stitcher's son, but it's actually a piece of, and I don't know if it's XJudesigns or XJudesigns. I've heard it said both ways, but it is a piece of that. It doesn't have a name, but it was supposed to have been dyed to resemble Vintage Country Mocha, and my piece is very much darker, which is why I'm having some trouble with some of the threads blending. But it is a piece of 36 count linen by XJude or XJudesigns. Also, I wanted to show, because I had talked a little bit about my stitching, or I had a lot of people ask about how I, what's my stitching setup, and I let you know that I stitch in bed and that I use a lap stand, and I put my Ann Priest back into the Q-snap last night and I worked on her. So I do have some progress. I left her in the Q-snap because I wanted you guys to see what it looks like when I am stitching any piece in the Q-snap on my lap stand. You are going to see a little bit of the chart, but good luck trying to rechart the whole entire thing because it's just a little piece of it. So this is how it looks when I am stitching on it. So I have the chart like right up in my face so I can always see it, and then I have my needle minder from Mad for Minders. They're my favorite needle minders, and then I have all of these are spool clamp thingies, and up here I clamp it all with a hair barrette or a hair comb or a hair thingamabob. So this is what it looks like when I'm stitching it in the evenings. So I did finish the house last night. I worked a little bit on the border, but now she gets set aside until I think the second week in January, because tonight I'm starting Christmas garden. And one thing I forgot to mention about this piece is that Yvette broke it up into 7 sections. so 7 assignments. And each month we just have to make sure that we get that assignment done so that way we have a finish in July. So the first assignment is this corner here, and it sort of goes like this, and then it angles down and comes this way. And that will be the first assignment. So as long as I get that done in January, I will be good to go. I did get the linen loaded into my Q-snap. So this is a piece of 36 count Dusty Road by Seraphim Fabrics. Again, I have my Mad for Minders needle minder. It is one I had them custom make me. And it is a quote from Star Trek. And at the end of, I think it's Final Frontier, I could be wrong, it's one of the last ones that they did where they were all together. And at the very end of the movie, Chekhov asks Captain Kirk what's his course heading, and he looks out, and they're supposed to return the Enterprise to they're supposed to return it. It's all beat up, and he just kind of looks off into the distance, and he says, "Second star to the right and straight on through till morning." So I had them chart it for me, and it does say Captain Kirk at the bottom. So I love it. I also went and loaded my Vicki Clayton silks into the Floss Away bags. It'll say the color expect less, and it is converted from calico kitten. So I have it all arranged, and then that way when I am done using the silks, I still know what the conversion was, and I'll be able to use it in other projects as well. Okay, so I had a brief little pause there. My grandma stopped by for a visit, and I wanted to share a couple of more things. The first thing I wanted to share is I have a morning stitch that I like to work on, and for me it's just a great way to start the day. I typically work on it for about 30 minutes, and now that Ethan will be back in school, usually when he goes off to school, because Brian will take him, I will sit down for like a half an hour and work on a little small. So what I will be working on is Country Rustic Primitives, Merry Winter 1809 Snowman Pin Keep. And instead of turning it into a little small, I've decided to frame it because when it's done, it will fit in a 4x6 frame. And there is a little spot. I bought a wooden candle sconce at the Goodwill a couple of months ago, and I painted it black, and it's hanging up down the hallway, and it does have a kind of a primitive candle in it, and it comes on at the same time every day. It's also got a wreath on it, and then there's a spot right above it that would be perfect for just a little small framed piece. So that is what I will be working on. It's not going to take very long to stitch it. I am going to stitch it on a piece of 32 count linen. This was a mystery linen that I sprayed with primitive antiquing spray, and I will also stitch it with the called for DMC thread. So hopefully the next time we meet, I will have it finished. And then last night I sat down and I filled out my book of days, my calendar for January. And I'm not really sure how well this is going to show up on camera because I do write everything in pencil. But this is what my rotation will look like. So the first 4 days of January, I'll be working on Christmas Garden. I am going to start it tonight so that way I have 5 days working on it. Then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I will work on Mighty Acorn. After that, I'm going to work on Anne Priest and hope for a finish. Then, of course, it moves back to Mighty Acorn for a couple of days. And then I have decided to stitch the Mary Bell Sampler by Lori Rippey. And after that, I will work on The Winter Is Past by Blackbird Designs. And then these last 4 days of January, I have left open just in case I need to finish my Christmas Garden assignment or if I have not finished Anne Priest. So that's kind of the way that my January rotation will look. Everything that you see on the calendar I will continue to work on until I'm finished. Okay, so I received a little bit of happy mail this past week, all the way from Australia. And it was from Lisa, and her Flosstube channel is Lisa Loves Stitchin', and she's been designing her own charts, and she does it under the name Lily Pilly Stitches. And she sent me this cute little Christmas, it's for a little Christmas small, so I'm definitely going to stitch this coming year for the trench bowl. So she sent me this card to go with it, and there is a little wooden button, and the little wooden button goes on top of the Christmas tree. So she sent me one to keep, but she also sent me one to give away. So I will be giving this one away shortly, and she also included a PDF pattern, so I will explain that when I get to the giveaways. But thank you so much, Lisa. It was so sweet of you to send that my way. And from the Fat Quarter Shop, they also sent me a package to share and show with all of you guys. I did receive the Stitch Quarterly Club Kit, which is Oh Dear cross stitch pattern. So it comes with the chart, and then it also comes with the linen to stitch it, the DMC. It has a cute deer needle minder. It does come with a John James needle. It comes with some thread bobbins from Lori Holt of Be in My Bonnet, and a floss fairy wand. So that is pretty darn cool. It's even got a little bit of bling on the top of it. So, and it also comes in this cute little project bag. So that is what the Stitch Quarterly for December was. And it did come a little bit late. I think there was a little bit of a delay, and it arrived I think it arrived right before Christmas. But it looks so cute. And then they also sent me a package of some new items that are available now on the Fat Quarter Shop's website, and I will make sure to put a link to the Fat Quarter Shop down below in the description box. The first one is a Denim Daisy project bag from Lori Holt. Isn't this so cute? Love it. There are some Busy Bee sticky notes also from Lori Holt. And these are really awesome, come in 3 different colors. I use sticky notes all the time. There is a Vintage Housewife enamel needle minder. Adorable. Oh, this one is also by Lori Holt, just in case. There is a new pattern by It's So Emma called Alpine Blooms. So beautiful. Another pattern from It's So Emma called Zurich. Beautiful, be a beautiful winter quilt. Then Vintage Housewife cross stitch chart by Lori Holt. I feel like there's a stitch along happening with this one. Then there is a cross stitch chart called Farm Life by It's So Emma. Very cute. Flea Market Baskets by Lori Holt of Be in My Bonnet. I'm pretty positive there is a stitch along for this one. I think it goes the whole year. Very cute. And then this was from the Stitch Quarterly, the Autumn. It is Autumn Spice pattern or chart. And then Be in My Bonnet stitch cards by Lori Holt. Very cute. So all of these items are available now on the Fat Quarter Shop's website, and I will put a link to them down below. Thank you so much to the Fat Quarter Shop for sending those my way. And some of them will be in a giveaway coming up shortly. So in my last video, I did have a giveaway, and thank you so much to everybody who watched the video, who liked it, who participated in the giveaway. Thank you so much. I do appreciate all of the likes, all of the views, everything. I really appreciate it so much, and welcome to all of the new subscribers who found their way to my channel over the past 2 weeks. Thank you so much. Without further ado, the winners for last video's giveaway. Number 1 was Judy Brown. Number 2 was Emily Davis. Number 3 is Ellen Fuller. Number 4 is Sar D, and these are all of your YouTube names. And number 5 is Cindy Gaudette. So congratulations to all of the winners. What I would like you to do is send me an email. I will put my contact information down in the description box. So if you can send me an email letting me know what it is that you won, I will then get your prize out in the mail to you soon. Thank you so much for playing. I will also do my best to comment on your comment if I am able to. Okay, so this video also has a giveaway. And so how the giveaway works is I will announce what the question is, and then down below in the comment section, you need to provide your answer as well as put the numbers of the giveaway that you are interested in winning. That way, when I go to pull the giveaway winners, all I have to do is search by number, and that's how I award giveaway winners. So I do it in the random comment picker, and I just hit the button, I put the number that I'm searching for, it will go in and it'll put all of, like, let's say number 1, it'll pull all of the people interested in number 1, and it'll pick a winner from that batch of people, and then so on and so forth. So you definitely want to make sure that down below in the comment section, you are putting the, you're answering the question, and then you're putting the number for the item that you're interested in winning. So if you're interested in winning all of them, you want to make sure that you list all of the numbers. So I hope that makes sense. All right, so number 1 is Autumn Spice. Number 2 is the Stitch Cards by Lori Holt. Number 3 is Alpine Blooms. I don't know why I can't say that today. Number 4 is Zurich. Number 5 is Vintage Housewives by Lori Holt, the cross stitch pattern. Number 6 is Farm Life Cross Stitch by Itzo Emma. Number 7 is the Flea Market Baskets Cross Stitch by Lori Holt. And number 8 is the hard copy of Oh Christmas Tree by Lily Pilly Stitches. Lisa loves stitching. And so she's included a hard copy, which will come with the button for the Christmas tree. But she also, for number 9, she is also giving away a PDF copy of this. So if you're interested in the hard copy, it's number 8. And if you're interested in the PDF download, it is number 9. And thank you so much to Lisa. So the question that you will need to answer is, what is a new hobby that you might want to learn to do this year? So this year I really want to learn how to do punch needle. I have everything to get started. I was gifted some punch needle patterns and kits, and I was also gifted the punch needle tool. So I really would like this year to learn how to do that. So that is something that in 2022 I would like to learn how to do. So is there a project or is there a hobby that you would like to learn how to do this year? It could be big, it could be small, and let me know down below. If you don't have anything that you are interested in doing this coming year, you're just really happy with what your current hobbies are, maybe let me know what those hobbies are down below. And in my next video, I will pull a winner. As always, you must be a subscriber, like the video, and answer the questions down below. And thank you for playing. Well, my friends, as far as all of the cross stitching goes, that is all I have to show and share in this video. I had a lot of fun going through all of the projects and showing and sharing my plans. This year, I think, well, you'll see this video in the new year. So this year, I really do want to focus on some smaller samplers, a little bit smaller projects. I know a few of the projects I showed were larger ones, but I do want to try to get more stitching done this year. I think this past year, I had a lot of large projects I was working on that took up great chunks of time. I still did have quite a few finishes. I have no idea how many I did for the year. I probably should have went and looked that up. Maybe next time I'll share how many finishes I had. When I started the new year off, I wanted to kind of keep track of all of my finishes and show them at the end, but a lot of stuff got put away in their holidays. Because a lot of times things get put away in the wrong place and then I don't find them for like a couple of years. So anyone else have that problem? So I had a lot of fun showing all of that in this video. So thank you so much for sticking around. But now I am going to talk about my quilting plans, which is something I did not do last year and I had a lot of people ask. So I thought, you know what? I am going to talk about my quilting plan. So if you're not interested in seeing that, this is a great stopping off point, and I'll be back in 2 weeks, and Happy New Year. All right, let's talk about quilts. So in my last video, I had talked about the quilt that was going to hang up here after Christmas, and it was going to be the Farmer's Wife, and I was very excited to get it quilted, and I still have the binding to hand stitch down on it, but I was really excited to have it hanging up behind me in this video. Well, when I was putting the binding on it, I realized that it was very long and it does weigh quite a bit, and I was really worried that it would just yank my rod right out of the wall. So I decided to hang up the S'mores quilt by Joe Morton. And so that will hang here, I think, through the month. And then I do have another quilt that's going to hang up in February. So, but I was a little bit disappointed I couldn't hang up the Farmer's Wife for this video because it's fabulous and I love it and I got it quilted. So I'll show it to you here in just a second. The quilt behind me, my friend gifted me all of the blocks except for like a handful, and the sashing that you see, and she was never going to put it together, and she decided she wanted to send it to somebody who she knew would love it, and I love it. So it's such a beautiful quilt. I really love it. So in my last video, I showed that I was working on the Temecula did a Sewing Bee Monday. And so all from January to December, on the second Monday of the month, she would release a block, and you just needed to make 4 of them. And at the end of the year, you would have 48 blocks that you could put into a quilt. So right off the bat, you would have a finish at the end of the year. So she released the final block in December, and I made 4 of it. And then she did have a quilt that she did put together and show in that same blog post where she showed the final block. It wasn't really my cup of tea. I decided to go in a different direction, and I showed the progress that I had made at that point was just like the upper portion of the quilt. So I have finished the quilt. The only thing that is left to do is I need to go to my local quilt shop and get some, I think I want to do 2 outer borders. So I need to go take the quilt down there and try to find something that will look good in the quilt. But here it is. So I decided to set all of the blocks on point, and I really like how it turned out. The accent fabric is the same fabric that was used in the Farmer's Wife, and I had a lot of it left over, so I decided to put it in this one because it's a Joe Morton fabric, and I love Joe Morton, so of course I had to include it so I could see it all the time. So these are the 48 blocks, and I love it. So to set all of them on point, I used the On Point Math Calculator by Quiltville. and I would link it down below, but for whatever reason, anytime I link it or I send the link to somebody, it never works. So I will just put the name of it, and then you can just do a quick Google search and it should pop up, no problem. But I have used it for several quilts, and I've never had an issue. I also used it in the Farmer's Wife quilt because you were supposed to continue to use templates to cut out everything, and I just decided to use the on-point math calculator, and it made it so much easier to put together. So without further ado, here is the Farmer's Wife quilt, and I would have brought the book in, but I just did not think about that. Hang on, let me move this out of the way. Okay, so here is the upper portion, and I love this quilt so much. So I'm gonna do my best. It's not all gonna fit, but I'm gonna do my best. And if I would have been really smart, I would have taken this bad boy outside and taken a picture of it in the snow, but the snow that we got was very powdery and it stuck to everything, and I didn't want it to stick to the quilt. So this is the bottom over here. This is the bottom. But it is a very heavy quilt, a lot heavier than I originally thought. And all I have to do is hand tack the binding down, which I will probably do after I finish editing this video. So here's the side. So it's such a beautiful quilt. I love it so much. My other friend sent me all of the blocks. This is the backing that I picked. But my friend sent me all of the blocks. I just had to make 10. And so those 10 that I made are, I am all turned around here. I don't remember, oh, they're right here. So these, the ones that you see like kind of in somewhere in here are the ones that I made. Because I know I made this one, I made this one. So I love it so much. And the quilting motif that I did was just a simple meandering. I didn't want to do anything that was like too, I wanted the quilt to talk. That's the type of quilter I am. I'm very simple. I like the quilt to tell its story, not my quilting. All right, so I finished both of those. I did the Farmer's Wife. I quilted it the week, was it the week before Christmas? I think it was at the beginning of, I did some client quilts and then I quilted it, and I still have some client quilts to do, but it's been way too cold out where the machine's at to even run it. It's supposed to get warmer this next week, so I will finish those. But I quilted it the week before Christmas. I also finished the Temecula quilt the weekend after I did my last video. And I'm trying to think, there was one other, oh, you can't see it, but there is a table runner that's right here, but it's underneath some stuff, so I can't show it to you. Anyway, that's the other one that I put the binding on it, but I sort of had like a binding party and I just put a binding on a bunch of quilts. So now I want to talk about my quilting plans for this coming year. You guys might remember this one. This is the Temecula album quilt. This one was sent to me earlier in the year, I want to say, and I started working on it, and I got sidelined, I think sometime in the summer I got a little sidelined. So I am going to return to working on this one. I think I have finished it all the way up to the 7th month, I believe. It does have a little bit of applique, yes. So this, I'm up to month 7. So this is the ones I will be working on. So I will be returning to the Temecula album quilt, and my goal is to get it completed because I would like to get it completed before spring and get it all put together because it will be the perfect summer quilt to hang right here. And then I started this one at the beginning of the year. It was a block of the month that I did through the Fat Quarter Shop. And this is called the Forevermore Block of the Month by Pan Buddha. I did the first 3 months, and since then I've just been collecting the rest of the months. So I look forward to getting back to that one as well. I have all of the months now, so that is something that I will be getting to. It probably won't be until after I finish a couple of things first, and then I have a feeling I'll be working on the Forevermore Block of the Month kind of later in the year. A new project that I'm going to be starting with Yvette and Christy of Crosshatch Quilts is Dear Jane. We're starting this in January, and Yvette gave us our blocks that we're supposed to do for the month, and we just have to make sure we have them done by the end of the month. I believe we're doing 4 blocks a month, so it should be done in 4 years. I told Allison this was her wedding quilt. She doesn't have a boyfriend, she's not getting married, but I told her that by the time I get this finished, that's probably what it'll be for. I'll just save it for her. So I'm looking forward to starting this one. So this copy here was sent to me by a friend, and then they decided to re-release it. I think it was the 25th anniversary. And it said right in the the description that the new book would have rotary cutting directions. So I bought the new book thinking that that would be great to have the, instead of paper piecing or having templates, that it would have the rotary cutting directions. And it's the same book. It does not have any new directions in it whatsoever. You have to buy that expensive quilt software, and that's where the rotary cutting directions will be. So Yvette found a website that has all of the foundation paper piecing directions for free. So that is what I will be using. I will paper piece my Dear Jane. So I'm looking forward to stitching it with Yvette and Christy. It's one that has been my unicorn. I loved it when it came out, but I hadn't really been quilting. I hadn't been quilting that long. This quilt was way too advanced for me. I should have just bought it then, but I didn't. But luckily, a very sweet friend sent that to me. So I'm looking forward to starting that in January. And then this past year, I was gifted my unicorn quilt, and I've been kind of waiting to start it. I'm going to start it this year. I visit it probably daily because I love it so much, and I cannot believe that I have it. I had told the story about the Jane Austen, how, if you really love the Jane Austen quilt, I explained that fabric lines do go out of print all the time, and if it's something that that you want to make for yourself, that you should buy it, even if you just have to hold on to it for a little while. I let you guys know about the Civil War tribute fabric line that came out. It came out back in 2010, so it was like 2010, 2011. There was a block of the month called the Civil War Tribute Quilt. I believe it was the first quilt in the series. And I told you guys about how I went with my grandma, and at the time I was searching for fabric for Hocus Pocusville, and my grandma told me, you need to get the fabric for Hocus Pocusville. You can always come back later and get the Civil War tribute fabric, all of that. And I went back and it was gone. And it has been my unicorn ever since. And a lovely person named Regina, she sent me the whole entire block of the month, and it has all 12 blocks. It has the backing fabric, and so she sent it to me. So here is what the quilt will look like. This one was the first of the series, so there was Civil War Tribute, then it went Civil War Medleys, Civil War Journals, then it's Civil War Ladies, and I think there's one more, but this one was the first of the series. I think the way that they had done it, it ended when the first shots at Fort Sumter were fired, the anniversary of that battle. And so all of these blocks have a battle, and they have a little bit of a story that talks about the battle. And so I am just absolutely so excited to start this one, and I plan to start this one also in January. And I'm going to work on it until it's finished. It's going to take a while. It's not a quilt for the faint of heart, so it's definitely going to take me a little bit of time, but I will go and I will just pace myself. I think I probably will start it towards the end of the month. And then I did show this one a couple of videos back. This is one that I will be starting very, very soon. I'm not 100% sure when, but it is called Gettysburg Sun. And it is out of the Big Book of Civil War Quilts by That Patchwork Place. So again, this is what it looks like. The designer is Carol Hopkins, and I have a lot of her. I feel like I've made several quilts that she has designed. So these are the delicious fabrics. It's all Civil War reproduction. My husband had given me a gift certificate to my favorite quilt shop, the Speckled Hen in Aurora, Oregon, and I went a couple of days later. I had gotten sick on my birthday, and so I went down there as soon as I felt well enough, and I got the fabrics. I wanted to pick out a quilt, I really did. I do store all of the quilts that I'm getting, that I have kitted up. I store them in these little totes that I just get from Bi-Mart, which is a local shop to me. It's a local, it's kind of got a little bit of everything in it. And then the next one is Civil War Legacies, Coffee Beans, also by Carol Hopkins. This is what it looks like. I also got this one at the Speckled Hen, I think it was earlier in the autumn. So it just makes like a little table topper. It's 23 by 32, but I think I might add an extra row so that I can hang it across the room. And then these are all of the delicious Civil War fabrics. Somehow I ended up having two quilts that are very similar to each other in color, but that's okay. I mean, it's like my favorite color combination, honestly. Well, I think that is all of the quilting I have to show. I know a lot of you guys will probably think that that is a lot of projects to work on, but it's not really, because the two quilts are not large quilts. They're all, basically wall hanging size, and the bigger ones are the block of the month. So I love block of the month. So for me, I can just sort of pull a block and work on it. And I usually do, when I do pull them, I usually work on them like during the week. I cut them all out, and then over the week in the evenings, I'll sit down and sew them together. But I am really looking forward to working on all of these projects as well as more, because I know that as the year goes on, there will be more projects that I will want to work on. So I'm looking forward to adding a few more quilts to my Civil War reproduction collection. In case you guys don't know, I love that time period. So, and I love all of the fabrics and just all of it. I basically love history, so I'm kind of a history nerd. So I pretty much like all that kind of stuff. So also, the husband for Christmas got me one of those Ancestry DNA kits, so I am going to send that off this coming week, and I am excited to see what it's going to say. I'm hoping it's going to open up some doors that have remained closed and maybe point me in a new direction, because on my family tree it almost looks like a brother and a sister married each other, and I know that that is not right. I don't know, but it's a little bit confusing. So I'm hoping maybe it'll clear some of that up too, and maybe just the wrong, maybe it's like a cousin situation. I don't know, but I need to go fix it. So hopefully it'll open up some doors so I can find some new branches to my family tree. So I think as far as everything goes, that is all I have to show in this video. And if you've stuck around for this length of time, thank you so very much. This video was so much fun to make, and I hope that you all liked it as well. I'm hoping I don't get any nasty comments like I did last year, because I honestly, that really threw me for a loop, and it really bummed me out for a while. And so I'm hoping that I will not, I mean, these are my plans. I can change them. I can make as many things as I want, make as many attempts as I want on things. You know, it's my life. So anyway, so if you have stuck around for this length of time, thank you. And as usual, I will be back in 2 weeks. Happy New Year. I really hope this coming year is going to be better for all of us. I know this past year has been very, very difficult for a lot of you guys as well as us, and I really, really am hoping that this next year will be so much better. Yeah, so Happy New Year. I will be back in 2 weeks. If you'd like to see what I am up in between videos, you can follow me on Instagram. I am Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. I also have a Facebook page called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting. I will put a link to both of those down below. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. And I will see you all again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.